All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It is Thursday and it is starting out crazy already. Um, Welcome to Mornings with Movers. Today we down Clifford, but hey, we got Country Phil in the building. So
Hey,
we gonna make it work either way. So hey, let's get to it. So today what we're gonna do is we got an actual guest on the show. So that's really great. But before we go into the guests, what we gotta refocus back on, and we can never take our foot off is sales. Obviously, sales is a driving force to every business, and without it, it don't matter how hard you work. You can work on operations, you can work on HR, you can work on marketing, but if you have no sales, you have no business.
nope.
So, with that being said, briefly, I wanted to go over our sales training program that we have in place. Just a little highlight of the program for some of those that may not have seen it. And let me see if I can do this without any technical difficulties. Let's see. Oops. See, having technical difficulties already. Let's see. So, just in general, so our sales program is basically going to be a 3-day turnaround course. And it could be for the new rep or it could be for the existing rep. We're going to go over, building that customer relationship, some closing sales techniques, some moving etiquettes, wrapping techniques, loading the truck. Now you say, hey, why are we adding, mover driver stuff to the sales training? And the reason behind that is because we really want to have the sales rep kind of know what they're talking about on the phone if they've never ever been in the field. Because trust me, the customer will be asking, oh, well, hey, how do the guys load up the truck? Or, what do they do when they get to my house? So having that kind of conversation or verbiage or just mental note, oh yeah, typically when they get to your house, they're going to probably be wrapping with blankets. They're going to use some shrink wrap. They do have some rubber bands or whatever the case is, but so from, just from my knowledge, this is kind of the things they do. And that can just push the customer over that finish line just that much more because the sales rep is feeling such more like a expertise, even though they're not in the field. Now, you also have lead capture, lead follow-up, sales scripts, how to actually quote moving customers, whether it's by weight or by size of the home. Then we go over some packing techniques. So again, the sales rep is getting some idea of what type of boxes they should bring for certain scenarios. If they need a wardrobe box, to help with some upsells as well. So we're making sure that this rep is well dialed in before they even touch the phones. Now, again, you're going to probably have some refreshers that you need to do ongoingly because you can't expect that they're going to absorb all this knowledge and be able to go right away. But, these are going to be the foundational steps that you need to make sure that this sales rep is going to be off and running probably within maybe a few days or so like that once they get through training and you do some shadowing. So then again, quotation training with storage with move. You have estimate follow-up, booking the move, rebuttals and objections to day 4, the final exam. Yeah, we taking them back to school, after all this work that they done put in just getting through this training, they need to wrap this all up and bring it all together. So it's just going to be repetitive, repeat stuff, just in a different way so that they can absorb it in a different way. And hey, this is the same type of training I use in-house. We just recently brought in a new rep the end of June, and now our rep is almost booked about 40 grand by himself. So I know that this stuff definitely works. It's a matter of staying consistent, making sure that you do diligent follow-ups. Make sure that you're actually monitoring your rep by doing enhanced call listening to. So listening to their calls, giving them constructive feedback on how they can be better. And I'm telling you, they will go out soaring. So again, this is just the highlight of the sales training. You can see this, you can see more of this program on our website, maxmovingtraining.com. And all right, let's get to it. So as I mentioned, we have a special guest today, and hey, we need to, like I said, keep focusing on these sales, and perfect guest to have today on our show. So we actually have, let me let him on in if he ain't eating breakfast, because it is Mornings with Movers. Let's see. All right, so we actually have Yuriy Margolin from Moving Sales Professionals to just keep dropping these gems on sales. So, hey, Yuriy, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
Another day in paradise.
So it is.
I don't know if you met Phil. Phil, have you had a chance to meet Yuriy?
No, don't think so.
No, we have not met.
All right.
We might have ran into each other somewhere. Obviously we all go to same events or close to.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've been trying to get Phil to Louis Mazzaro's event or something like that, but he ain't never made it there yet.
Hey, my thing has always been, no offense to Louis, but my thing has always been the stuff that Louis teaches to me personally is common sense stuff that you as a business owner in the moving industry need to have in your head, because realistically, if you don't come to those realizations sooner or later yourself, you probably shouldn't be in moving, and you probably shouldn't be in business for that matter.
Gotcha. So I guess when you say common sense, like for the person that's coming into this, because I had a conversation with a guy yesterday and he was like, yo, I am not good at sales. Mm-hmm. How do you view sales? Like, is it sales or is it like holding the customer hand? Like, it's a mindset.
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. Now, I have probably slightly different view of sales because I started working at a call center. Mm-hmm. And my initial sales experience, we were doing fundraising for nonprofit organizations. That's what we were doing. So, because that's what we were focused on. Like sometimes you were asking somebody that gave only like a $50 contribution to give 10 grand, for example, for to charity. So it's a different mindset. But the interesting part, actually, if you listen to my podcast, I did one episode with the guy that originally hired me. And it was something interesting that he said. He said that if you were scripted versus using the information that we gave you to create something, you wouldn't have lasted there long. I didn't know that when I worked there. It was just something that just came natural to me. I mean, we worked with all these charities, the biggies like Sierra Club. We work with all the Democratic places. We did Kennedy Center, Smithsonian, Whitman Walker Clinic, if you're familiar, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera. So like they're well-known charities throughout the U.S., so people know the names. Okay. But yeah, so they would give us these packets of information about various causes that they were protecting, and we basically took that information and like I looked at it, I read it, and I found things that were compelling to me. And I would use those things as my case for giving, right? So as we parlay that into moving, every potential customer that we're talking to, you got to give them your case for giving. Whether it's like, for us, for example, at Moving Sales Professionals, we only work with licensed movers. We only work with movers that have good, better business bureau ratings. We work with companies that care about their future, that want to build a brand, that care about their customers, that do what you said specifically when we're talking about caring about customers, about holding by the hand. We don't work the same way other call centers do. So we're there every step of the way. So we're there to hold the customer by the hand if needed. We're there to, moving in general can be a stressful experience. So if it is a stressful experience, the easier you make it, the more likely you are. See, I already bored Phil. The more likely you are to.
I'm here.
That's fine. the more likely you are to lose that customer. You know, like some of them really do that, first of all. Second of all, once again, obviously reviews is a big deal. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we get people in that are interested in the industry, you know, that are going to keep bringing customers back to you and back to you and back to you.
Gotcha.
And the thing is this, me at this point, I have 23 years of sales experience, 20 years in moving sales specifically at this point in my life. So I can tell you for a fact, the problem that we run into, and we have a lot of clients. So we have, I don't know, over 30 companies that we either still work with or worked with over the past 5 years that we've been in business, right? But overall, I think it's important that people understand sales, right? Especially moving company owners, because if you have zero sales experience, first of all, we're the people that you do want to come to because we do have the experience. That's all we do. And second of all, just don't make an assumption that you need to inundate your potential customers with call every second of the day. Now, don't get me wrong. If I have not reached you, I will call you, and I will call you a lot until you finally pick up the phone, until you finally send me a text, until you finally send me an email, right? But that's people I have not reached. Now, if I have reached you, if I've talked to you, if I've built rapport with you, if I got an inventory from you, if I gave you a quote, what is the point of me calling you twice, 3 times a day? At that point, if I do that, if I follow the same procedure that I follow with a person that I have not reached, I'm going to lose you as a customer. Because and not only am I going to lose you as a customer, I'm going to alienate you. I'm going to piss you off. And then when your friends are going to ask you, hey, you know, how did your moving plans go? Not only are you going to obviously not use the company that I'm representing in that particular case, right? You're going to actually say, yeah, you know, it went so-so with this company, but there was this other company that just blew me up with phone calls. It was horrible. They were harassing the crap out of me. So now, not only do you not have that client's business, he just told a bunch of people that could have potentially become your clients that you suck. Right? He just told you that you are like, you haven't even done anything with that person yet, and you already alienated them. That's not the proper way to do things.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, especially with owners that don't know sales and don't know how that needs to be done, they make that mistake. And I've heard this before. I've heard an owner say this to me. If you got at least one fuck you in the day, you know, that's a good thing. You're doing your job. I disagree. I strongly disagree. If you went that far, you actually go in the opposite direction. You're actually creating this negative vibe about the company that you're representing.
Well,
you don't want that.
Let me pause you right there. So I'm pretty sure everybody heard Grant Cardone's take on that, where, you know, it's like he would annoy the hell out of people, and he wanted that type of attention. Oh yeah, it was that Grant Cardone guy, you know, that, you know, his salespeople keep calling me and they're pushy and, you know, stuff like that. And it kind of like he indulged that energy because, hey, people remembered his name, you know, and it was weird how he said it, but it was just like that's how he's figured out how he would get out.
And I think that might apply to different type of sales. I don't think it applies to moving. In the moving, what makes us unique, companies in general. I'm not talking, moving sales professionals, people should never feel like we're a third party. They should always feel like we're part of your company. And for that matter, they never know that we're a third party, right? So we want to, you know, I have a guy named Paul, which Dwight, you know, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's my marketing guy. He's my advertising guy. He's, in general, just a very, very awesome individual. Not to mention he's very good at what he does. And he's very good at sales, too. So one of the things that struck me about what he said to me before is that I hug them until they give me a credit card. Those were the words that he used, right? So like, there's different types of people in this world that we're trying to sell things to. I mean, in the industry, we're selling service, so it's a little bit different, right? But when you're selling a product, when you're doing the Greg Cardone thing, and I'm not trying to say that I'm Greg Cardone, no, I'm not. I'm Yuri. I do what I do. I'm good at what I do, but I think you have different approaches, and I think the reason he says that, I think, on average, there's going to be people that will, if you do the Greg Cardone approach, there will be people that tell you to fuck off, right? But majority of people in this world, if you keep on inundating them, a lot of them will give in sooner or later, right? If you just keep at it, right? But the thing is that I'm not convinced that that's something that works in the moving industry. Because in the moving industry, especially when you're a new company, or for that, I mean, I guess it's both. If you're a new company, or if you're a company that's been in a business for a long time, right? You want to create a positive vibe about you. It's not just about creating a vibe, it's creating a positive vibe. Because when you're creating a negative vibe, they're not booking you with you, that you're going out of business, or you're going to jail if you're really doing things the wrong way, right? There's no shortcuts in moving industry, really.
Phil, that thing you said about your guy with selling those cheap jobs and going out of business, you mentioned.
Oh yeah. Had a client I went and did an estimate for, in-home estimate, and the gentleman didn't refer us. Just kind of a coincidence. He just said the company's name, and I'm like, oh, okay. So send him over a quote. We call back couple of days later, asked to make sure he got it. He's like, yeah, can I speak to Phil? So I got on the phone. He's like, he such and such, I'm not gonna say his name. He moved me for half of that when he moved me. You guys are price gouging. I said, well, I don't want to be the one to tell you, buddy, but he went out of business. And from what I gathered, what he was doing was he wasn't doing jobs enough, far as charging enough. I mean, the guy was charging like $65 an hour for two guys in a truck. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're running your business out of your home, you're not going to be something's going to be bad there. Either you're going to have poor quality guys. Well, you're going to have poor quality guys.
That kind of money, yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is, and some of those you just can't win. And then we followed back up, I think, maybe a week later, and he said that he had found the moving company within his budget, but his budget was, half of what we quoted, and at that point, you can try to get a little bit closer, but I'm not one to cut my cost, especially during moving season, to accommodate for someone that wants to be cheap, because he had the money to pay for a premium service, and it ain't like he had. Some people, a guy told me a while back, and I kind of agree with it and I don't agree with it, about the higher the risk, the more you charge, right? Mm-hmm. You go into a home and, no TVs, furniture's not in the greatest condition. I mean, you still want to be able to do your job. And, he said he charges a little less for those jobs to get his foot in the door, even if it's, reducing the rate, down to $5 an hour, if it's local. I agree with that to a certain degree, but, in some cases, I try to train my guys, we wrap everything in the home. It doesn't matter if you think it's trash or whatever it is, wrap everything. And it's worked for us, for the amount of moves that we do a month. I mean, we have very little claims. I mean, I don't even think we had a claim last month at all.
No, that's awesome. Now, my question with that is, what is your take on, obviously, it's local moves. Now, when we hire these day laborers, and, I'm in all these labor groups, and you see all these guys who's, really wrapping this stuff really well, going into these big trailers because they're, going somewhere far. What is your take on that? Do you think that that quality of wrap and sophistication should be, used on locals as well?
Yes. So that if you look anywhere that we market at, there's a high there's high pictures of wrapping of furniture. I'm just a firm believer in that. I accommodate that into the time. You know, it's some people can look at it as milking the clock, but if I present it, the numbers, and they're like, okay, well, this company said they can do it in 3 hours, and why are they going to take you, 4 or 5 hours? Because I don't want to go through the process of something getting scratched or damaged. Because we are in an industry where we are high damage, and I just don't like, having that phone call of something damaged or something scratched, and of course I need something off the bill. When you could have really presented that at the beginning, and that's just knowing your customer, listening to your customer. A mass majority of people that is calling a moving company has used a moving company. And what I hear a lot of times is when someone says, oh, we've been in this area for 15, 20 years. Now, I know I try to capture each customer, and they utilize our service every time they move. And it always makes you wonder, why did they not use that other moving company, or are they still around?
Oh,
Right?
gotcha.
If they're still in business. So,
Well, and then don't forget now, with that being said, they do like to use the old moving company as their benchmark for your company, which is always the fun part. Where I think Yuri, we talked about this as well, where the customer was like, well, the last moving company I used, they included packing and moving in their hourly rate. Well, man, did you order packing services? Well, I just assumed that it came with packing services.
Yeah. I remember that one. To be honest, I'm a big proponent of offering full packing service in the hourly rate. As an option. If you have, I'm not talking about on every move. I'm talking about if somebody comes to you and says, I want full packing service. Okay, no problem. So instead of, let's say, $250 an hour, it's going to cost you $270 an hour, or $370 an hour, $350 an hour, like $120 more per hour to include all the materials for the whole move, not just the parking part, the whole move, right? People like that, I find, because you're not piecemealing them for every piece of furniture. And the selling point is basically, hey, you don't have to count every box. You don't have to count every piece of tape. You don't have to count every single thing that the movers use. You could just sit back, relax. You see that they're doing their job. You see that they're taking time. You see that they're being careful with your items. And you don't have to worry at the end of the day how much those items are going to run you, because they're included. People like that. We book jobs like that all the time.
So my whole take on that is, now that you raise the hourly rate up to, like, say, $370 as an example, and
Right.
now you're bringing the boxes, and I'm assuming that you're still charging them for the physical labor of packing those boxes on
Same
top of
hourly
it.
rate, $370 an hour, right?
So you don't feel like in that case that, because now that it's a little bit more per hour, that these customers are going to probably be a little more anxious, a little more like on top of
No.
guys, like, oh, they're taking too long to pack.
No, because these are the people that want the full service. So when they tell, part of the conversation, when they say, I want full service, part of the thing that you tell them is specifically, you want full service. They're going to be there to be careful with your stuff. You don't want them to rush things. When you rush things on packing, things get broken. So now, if they're really dragging their feet and taking too many breaks, pick up the phone, call me, and I will figure out what's going on. But ultimately, they're trying to be careful with your things. You care about your stuff. We care about your stuff. We wanted to get there in the same condition that we picked it up in. Those are people that are going to pay for full packing service, are people that understand the dynamics of full packing service. And that's something that you explain to them during booking, that, yeah, this is not going to be, they're not going to be running up and down nonstop. They got to wrap things. They got to disassemble things. They got to do this. They got to do that. You explain the whole process. And honestly, I don't think just if I think back, I don't think I've had a single situation with the full pack like that where a customer complained about the moving time.
Interesting.
And in most cases, I make sure I estimate it. So let's say hypothetically, let's say you have a 2-bedroom. Let's say you have 5,000 pounds, right? So 5,000 pound move, if it's a full pack, you're going to estimate it. If normally, let's say you estimate it at 5-6 hours for a full pack, depending if there's stairs, not stairs, any heavy item, things like that, you're going to estimate for the same 3 guys doing it, you're going to estimate maybe 9 to 10. So you're going to pad that estimate from the get-go in terms of time. And then if they end up getting a little bit faster, great. If it takes an hour longer, it's not a big deal because they know that they're doing packing. They're there. They see that the job is being done. They're
So,
present for the whole thing.
what is your take, Phil, on that, on packing and moving in the same day?
But that's only if it's like a 2-bed. If you're talking 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, yeah, it's the separate days.
Yeah.
Yeah, generally, 1 bedroom is generally all we'll, I mean, I'm not going to say all we will do, you know, for one day. I kind of leave it up to the customer's discretion. I always try to detour them away from the same day pack and move. Just depending on how the scheduling is. You know, I'm sure everybody in the industry, I'm sure like everybody else, you have certain guys that know how to pack and certain guys that don't know how to pack. Right.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I'm sure a lot of companies, maybe, I don't know, maybe they have just a stationary pack crew. Maybe they have enough, you know, packing jobs to where they can provide, you know, just a crew stationary just for packing only. I know I don't have it like that, you know, where I've got, you know, 5 days of packing jobs every day for a pack team.
I mean,
But,
generally, that's not, you don't see those jobs every day. But,
exactly.
But they're nice because every time you have a job like that, it's like $2,000, $3,000 tab.
Yeah.
So they're definitely worth the money. So
Yeah.
it's like it's not they're definitely worth the bill what you're getting for it.
Yeah,
So,
I try to detour the customer away from same day, and I always, especially older customers, you know, I try to detour them away from the same day pack because it becomes a little bit too much for
I
some.
mean, I think you do play it by ear ultimately if it's
Yeah.
a customer. I mean, like I said, anything more than a 2-bedroom, I would not do as a same day.
No.
Anything like 2 bedrooms or less, and you know, because 1 bedroom, you're not really going to have too often of a full pack.
Right.
And honestly, if you do full pack, you always want to send a 3-man crew generally in. So if it's a 1-bedroom, the packing part, they're probably going to knock it out in like 2 hours if they're 3 guys.
Right.
For a 1-bedroom, unless it's a huge 1-bedroom, you know, so then it's going to be different because, you know, sometimes you have 1 bedroom that have 3 bedrooms worth of stuff in them and vice versa. Sometimes you have a 3-bedroom that barely has any items in it. So it's like, that's why I never understood companies. And I know, Dwight, you did this before, but I never understood when people did it based on size, like 2 bedrooms, this much, 3 bedrooms, this much. To me, it's all about the inventory because like where we are, for example, in Baltimore area, we got a Jewish neighborhood in like that's close to us, right? So in that neighborhood, this is what happens, right? You have a religious family that moves in, they rent a 3-bedroom apartment. They put the contents of a 4 or 5 bedroom house in that 3-bedroom apartment, right? And they wait for a house to become available in that neighborhood because they want to be in that neighborhood for a house to become available for them to buy. So when you walk in these, if you do an at-home estimate and you walk in this, you got like things up on the ceiling. You got dressers on top of each other. I don't know how they walk through those places. Honestly, I don't know how they live there. I mean, I'm not. Look, I've been there. I've seen them before. So I am actually not exaggerating. It's literally how packed they are, right? So if you just base it on the fact that it's a 3-bedroom, and you don't actually see this, and you don't know that this is what's happening in that neighborhood, you're going to be in for a rude awakening when the guys get there on the day of the move.
Yeah, no, I hear that I hear that, and you know what? And that's one thing I was able to take away, where it's like different perspectives. You know, I was really big on quoting based off of home size, but then I recently this year went to like, okay, you know what? Take the time out and really get an inventory. And it's really not that bad once you start getting used to taking the inventory as frequently. And then,
You just got to dig.
Yeah.
You got to dig.
So as I mentioned to you recently, we had a customer, even though we took the inventory, the customer is now trying to itemize. Oh, well, why did it take so long? Oh, well, what items did they move on this day? And what items did they move on this day? And it's like, we don't charge by the item, we charge essentially by volume, and I guess that's what some customers don't look at. They look at, oh, well, did he move item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No, man. Our guys are not looking at a piece of paper to check off.
Yeah, we only use this for the purpose of estimating. That's right. And if
So-
you don't provide us with the full information about your move, and like I said, like to me, I'm to a point personally, and I'm not on the phone as much, but I'm to a point where I can do a 15,000 pound inventory in under 20 minutes myself. If I sat down and I just went through it, like I'm to that extent. Where I go boom, 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 and I make sure that I ask the questions about, like in the beginning, pack the things that I could potentially forget, like a garage or outside stuff or an exercise room or a basement or anything else, that appliances, etc., things that you could forget if you don't ask about them. So I make sure I pack them, and then I leave the things that I know I won't forget, like a living room or dining room, at the very end.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, that's why we send them an estimate with all the inventory. If they got to look at it too. This is a two-way street. They got to look, and they got to say, okay, you missed this or you missed that. Look, we're all people. They forget stuff too all the time.
Whole rooms.
You know how many times, right? Whole rooms. You know how many times during a conversation with a customer, I say, "Is that everything?" And I get an answer, "Yeah, that's everything." And then suddenly they give me like 15 more items after they just told me it was everything, right?
Yeah.
So this happens all the time too. So it's like, we got to be like, if they got to realize that we're all real people. They forget stuff. We can forget stuff too sometimes. But that's why you have an estimate with the inventory to take a look at before you sign on the dotted line. Take a look at what we have in the estimate here. I just sent it to you. Can you open it? Can you take a quick peek? Did we miss anything? Now that you actually have it on paper in front of you, maybe there's something that's not there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just a matter of, with that, I believe the patience, one, of the sales rep to not be, 100% pushy, because, we want to make sure that, hey, we delivered everything. We gave them all the information. But now when we have them looking at the estimate, it's like, well, hey, do we have everything there? No pressure. Take your time. Look down the list. Make sure everything is there, because we're going to kind of quote you off of that. But then we also got to explain to them, hey, man, so if there's items that you move off that list, by the time you get there, that we're not charging by the item. And I think that's, again, just reiterating that fact that they're looking at that and saying, well, hey, I had everything on that list. Or maybe there was some odds and ends. I had a teddy bear or something like that, whatever the case is, that didn't go on that list. But it couldn't have been too much more miscellaneous than that. And, hey, just off that miscellaneous stuff is what caused the estimate to go over X amount of time. And I think that's where I guess some customers get a little bent out of shape. But I feel like we've been using Live Switch, which has been really great for moves that's probably over like 2 bedrooms, or it starts to seem like the customer is kind of like, okay, maybe they're not being 100% honest. Maybe they do have a garage and they're like, oh, or they have a basement and they're just like, well, hey, we only have 20 items, but you have like a 4-level home. And I'm just like, hold up. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over a link. If you can record your home, let us know that what you have. What we're going to do is even though we're going to give you an estimate based off what you told us today, we're going to fact check, make sure that everything is accurate, so that, obviously we did our part. I guess, what are your take on, I don't know, well, I don't think I used Live Switch before yet, Yuri.
No, well, we haven't used it with you per se, but like I actually did a podcast with James and using his stuff. So like, yeah, I'm familiar with the software. I think it's a grand idea. I really do. I like it. So I think overall it's it's the next best thing other than doing an actual virtual via the home, like via the internet when you're talking to somebody, because we certainly do those as well. That's the next best thing, because then, if they didn't record something and it's there, you have that video recording to say, hey, this is what we had from your move. And you never showed us this other room or these other 2 rooms or whatever, you know?
Gotcha.
They're
Yeah.
not on this recording, and you submitted this recording yourself to us, and we based your price based on what you submitted. So if you didn't put an extra room or 2 or 3, you know.
Oh yeah, like that customer that forgot to record their whole basement. Oh
yeah, like that one, for example.
Oh yeah.
Which see, Dwight is nice. I'm a lot like I'm very, when it comes to issues like that, I'm very by the book. So when it gets to that point, I'm not their I'm honestly, when it gets to that specific point in the conversation in dealing with the customer, I'll be honest, I'm not their favorite person at that point. And the reason I'm not their favorite person is because I go by the book at that point, because I'm like, okay, this is the inventory you gave us. This is what you actually have, you know? So it's like reality is this. So like, if you want, we'll take the items on your inventory and that's it. And then you're going to be paying roughly what you're paying. You want everything? No problem. It's going to cost you more because you have more stuff.
Yeah, no, that
It's
makes
one way or
sense.
another. Dwight is nice. He's giving them discounts and stuff like that. That I honestly, I never would. I never
No,
would.
but
Like
no, it happens. It's like, you know, obviously as owners and operators, even though, you know, obviously we use your services. So, you know, it's one of those things where everything ultimately, any claims, anything always falls on the owners. And at the end of the day, you know, we have to sleep with what decision we kind of go with. And that's the hard part. You know, it's like even working with a claims company, I don't personally deal with claims, but in that off chance that like, oh, well, the claims company said, oh, based on that item that got damaged, oh, that customer is entitled to $9. Okay, whatever. The claims company said $9, give them $9. But then I'm like, damn, how did the claim occur? Okay, well, it was clearly negligence on our guys' end. Granted, the claim company said $9. In good faith, I feel like I should give a little bit more. You know,
the thing is this, they're not always practicing good faith with you. That's like, it's good to me, it's got to go both ways. So it's like, one thing is if we're talking like a 1 or 2 pieces, okay, then you can give somebody back, or 1 or 2 pieces, extra 10-15 boxes, something like that. You can give somebody like that benefit of the doubt, right? But when you're talking about a whole extra room, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's like you have an inventory for a reason. We ask you for what you're moving for a reason. And the reason being is we want to give you accurate numbers. Because like for us, moving sales professionals, so we're not done at the point of sale, right? So we're still dealing with that whole situation, and Dwight knows. Like, I'm available, he knows. So like we're still talking to those customers on the day of the move. We're still dealing with those extra pieces, extra situations, trying to align it. So like, it's like I understand we want the good review at the end of the day. We don't want a bad review. But the question is, to what extent? Because sometimes you're going to get people that are ridiculous. They're going to tell you, oh, I want $2,000 discount.
No, I get it. And I know, Phil, you're very big on reviews or so like that. What is your take on that side on customer service?
Well, you know, it all starts at the very beginning, right? I mean, I guess my company is a little bit different than some. Me and my wife do everything, and it's not always going to be that way. But
You need help, Philip?
I was in the car business for several years. So, you know, I was trained to pre-qualify customers, right? You get, you know, I sold GMCs, right?
Right.
The GMC line, which is not a very high line car, but you get a customer to come in, and I'm just using this as an example. Get a customer to come in, and this right here taught me a valuable lesson. My first customer that I had in the business was back in 2008, 10. Guy came in, it was around tax time. He was looking at a Yukon Denali, right? Back then, I think it was about 60 or 70,000, somewhere around in that area. Now, I didn't pre-qualify this customer prior to him coming in, right? So I'm driving around in this car. I'm like, man, I got a deal. This guy's got $1,000 down payment. He's wanting his car payment to be at around $250 a month, and he doesn't have a job. And his girlfriend babysits on the side. Right? This is the shit that I'm dealing with. So I get a credit. Manager's like, well, first off, have you even talked about credit? Because it sounds like these people got shit credit. And I'm like, oh man, they got $1,000, dude. So I was young, man, you know. So he said, Phil, unrealistic numbers, right? $1,000 down, $60,000, $70,000 vehicle, $250 a month. What are they paying on a damn house? What is this, a mortgage? So I go back in. I'm like, hey man, you know, that monthly payment is not going to be, you know, what can we do? Oh, it don't matter what the monthly. He tell me, oh, it don't matter what the monthly payment's going to be. Oh, okay. Still, no damn job. Wife, girlfriend babysits on the side. They ain't got no damn proof of income. Man, I pulled a damn credit report. They just got a car repoed the month before. And I mean, so I utilize this in the moving industry as well, right? My wife, we pre-qualify customers right off the top. If we start hearing signs of bullshit, we don't want to do the job. You know, very.
I agree with this full-heartedly.
You know,
In fact, I tell my salespeople, you know, it's okay to let some people walk.
oh yeah.
If you haven't even got anything done, you haven't even quoted them, and they're already giving you a BS. It's like, then it's going to be, oh, hold on 1 second. Oh, I am so sorry. Our last spot for that week filled just now. I have a spot 2 weeks from now, but it's this much more per hour.
Oh man, that's good for that.
Oh yeah, and that's what you have to do, man.
Sometimes
Because
you do. It's not about one specific job. It's honestly because here's the thing. And Dwight, you and I have went through this before. How much time that's worth money to you and to me and to Phil? How much time are we willing to spend on somebody that's going to be trouble? How much time will your movers waste on them and their sanity, so to speak, right? It's all of that stuff. It, like, if you calculate, if you put that into time, into hours, into, you know, you, me having to be Dr. Phil to our workers, whether it's my salespeople or your movers or whatever the case may be, it's not worth some of these people. It really isn't. It's not. At the end of the day, you're going to save yourself more money in grief by not taking this customer than by doing the job, than you're going to make by doing the job. That's assuming you'll make anything in that particular, because if it's that customer, you'll be lucky if you break even at the end of the day.
well, you know, we're all human, man, and you can kind of identify if you listen. If you're a person that listens to a customer, you can kind of tell what kind of person it's going to be. You know, I did a in-home estimate yesterday. One of my in-home estimates yesterday, a girl moving down to South Florida, and she had really nice stuff, you know, and she started pointing out things from the last movers, you know, small scratches on the furniture. Okay, not saying that she's OCD, but I could tell she was OCD in her house. Everything had a place. It was things labeled in the home. So you know what? And then, of course, talking to her more and more and more, guess what? She's moving down to South Florida. She's a doctor, right? So everything mattered to this young lady, right?
That's when you sell full service.
Exactly. You sell every damn thing.
Yeah.
You sell white glove, full service, no scratches, being super, super careful, which of course is going to take more time, and all that other stuff. You got to do it that way. I hear you. That's the same thing. But yeah, you got to listen, because it's like, and sometimes I always tell new salespeople, like, for me, I try to honestly stay away from salespeople that used to work for other moving companies, because we've tried that a few times. It always ends up being bad. And so I prefer to train have people have sales experience, but train them in the industry from scratch. It works out so much better. But yeah, it's like, my best example, I had this one move that was a studio move that was moving like Montana or something like that. I forget now. And it was like a $5,000 job. And like during the process, when we were going over the inventory, she mentioned that she had a $10,000 sofa. At that point, I knew I had her. I didn't even have to get to the end of the day. I knew I had it. Because if somebody has a $10,000 sofa, they'll pay $5,000 to move it.
Right.
And
Yeah, we
she had
gotta-
other things, right? So don't make one big thing is that first of all, the worst thing you can do is think, how much would I want to spend on this move? It's not, or how much would I spend on this move?
Yeah, don't
It's
sell
not
your
about you. It's not about you. You don't know what that person's income is. You don't know if the items she's moving have this sentimental value that to her are priceless, that you would never understand because it's not yours.
Yeah, I just had that situation.
Don't assume.
I just had that situation with our newer rep or so like that. He was actually quoting this customer that wanted to go like 5 hours away. And he's like, oh, I need packing. And then, all this items need to be moved, et cetera. And it's going 5 hours away. Okay. Well, obviously, this is probably going to be a 3-day service because you have a boatload of stuff. So, now as my rep is going through the process of quoting, he's like, oh, geez, this girl's getting up to like 7,000, 8,000. Oh, man, I don't think she's going to buy. Don't sell your pockets. Sell the service based on what the service got. And eventually, we told her the final price or something like that, and she was like, "Oh, I'll take it." And it was just like, look at that. Like, at the end of the day, they have the money for it, and especially if they're going that far. We also had another customer who had, like Yuri mentioned, had a $10,000 sofa as well, and with that, she wanted full value protection, which we obviously don't offer in house, but we use the Nation company right now, the relocation insurance company, which is really great for relocating moving insurance for local jobs as well as long distance. And they went through them and they got the valuation, the full value protection for their sofa. So now my guys get there and the guys I told the guys, hey, that customer says that sofa is $10,000. You guys better wrap that. Mummify the hell out of that sofa. And they were like, as soon as they started putting blankets over it, they were going to wrap it with shrink wrap and everything. Customer's like, can you avoid putting any shrink wrap on the sofa or whatever the case is? But obviously it was going to go in the past, not the sofa directly. And my guys called me like, hey, she said she don't want us to use shrink wrap. Hey, you got to damn shrink wrap. Let her know that we're going to be making sure our stuff is protected. Get one mark on that $10,000 sofa, anyway, Charlie.
Right.
So yeah, once she heard that story, she was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't know if they had to use it or not." Man, you claimed $10,000 just for one piece. You didn't even claim the rest of your house. You got the rest of your house at 30 cents per pound.
That's crazy.
But yeah. So other than that, like Yuri, with the in-home estimate, what is your take, I guess, on doing a detailed inventory right there while in the house?
Well, I know that anytime that I went to do an in-home estimate, that's exactly what I did. I would, first of all, when I was there, this was before, Life Switch and any of that stuff, I would write everything down right there. I would have a big notepad and I mark everything. And, I'd do my little scratches for boxes that I thought I was going to take as I went through the house and everything like that. I got every single furniture piece. I put the roughly how many, boxes I thought everything would be. I always overestimated on the boxes because that's always the best policy when you do these anyway. And then after I would be finished and they showed me everything, I would say, how busy are you guys? Do you have a couple of minutes? And if they said, yeah, they had the time, then I would sit down, I would log into whatever CRM it was, and I would put the items in either through my iPad or through my phone or whatever. Hopefully they have, good connection and they have Wi-Fi and whatever in that house. But anyway, I would put them right there and then. I would finish up with the quote right there and then. I would put everything in and I would quote them right there on the spot. That's how I did it. Because the thing is that I am there in their house right now. I can pitch them right now, right this second, and I could potentially book them right now without them having to see any other moving company. If they like me enough, if they feel comfortable with me enough, if I answer all their questions, if they like the company, they may never go into anybody else, whatever other at-home estimates they may have scheduled, they may cancel right there and then. Like I have a chance, like honestly, anytime I've done a virtual or anytime I went to somebody's home, I booked them probably 80% of the time on those ones specifically. Like if I did a virtual or if I went to somebody's house, 80% of the time I booked them.
Okay.
The only times I didn't was really when the money was really out of their ballpark. When it was just like there's no freaking way they just did not have it. Those were really the only times where I would not get them.
Gotcha. And what's your take, Phil? Would you do the inventory directly into the CRM or put it on paper? Like when you get there, like what's that look like for you?
Same thing. I generally write down. I take pictures of certain things with glass fronts. It always kind of, makes a customer feel a little bit better. Just say you're walking through and they're like, okay, this is my, great grandmother's china cabinet. It's a nice, beautiful piece.
Family heirloom.
Yeah. So you take the time. I'll spend 5 minutes right there talking about that piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take pictures of it.
Absolutely.
Detailed pictures. And then guess what? I'll pull out my phone. And of course, like I'm sure like every other moving company owners, what do we got in our phone? Pictures of furniture, And of course, I'll pull out and be like, yeah, this was a piece that we just done. And you'll show, the padding, even boxed it out, did all the, overkill on it. And you just show that like, oh, okay, yeah, that was really nice. And you show them the piece. And next thing you know, you're talking about that piece of furniture in your phone. It's just a good selling point. But I always take the time, talk about it, take a picture of detailed pictures. That way I can upload it into the CRM and I'll have it in the note there. Hey, guys, make sure this piece is padded, boxed, bulletproofed, Right. And in some notes, Melissa will wrap that piece first, right? Yep. Why wrap it first? Because once you go in, throw your floor runners down, throw your door jamb guards up, boop, boop, boop. You go right to that piece. The guys are fresh, they're energetic, and you wrap that one piece up that means the most to them. They leave you alone the rest of the day. You're done.
Yep. It's definitely about it's the same thing. And when we're talking to them on the phone, a good salesperson is going to listen and hear that one or two pieces that the customer mentions to you that are important to them, right? And how they mention it more than once.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I have the sofa. Oh, and I really want you to wrap that sofa. Oh, and that sofa it does come in two pieces. Like when you hear that multiple times that they go over a specific item, that item has significance to them. Yeah. So, but if you don't and you need to focus on it, because honestly, you mention that item 3 more times on top of the 3 times that they mention it, you have a pretty good chance of closing them on that job at the end of the day, just because of that potentially. It's these, sometimes it's these little things that people give you hints. You just have to listen and pick them up.
And you have to know furniture as well. Some people don't really know the expense of furniture, until you go and buy it. Furniture is expensive, Yeah.
When you see a mahogany whatever the heck with this glass front and whatever, it's not IKEA.
Right. Right.
You can tell it's old, it's heavy, it's nice, and they spend a lot of money on it, and they don't want to spend it again.
So
it's like us guys. It's like us guys. We go buy a vehicle, right? Hell, you don't even want nobody to sit on the damn thing. If you got a tailgate, don't sit on that damn tailgate, man. Don't lean up against my truck. Don't get near my truck, right? It's the same thing, with some furniture pieces in people's home. You know what I mean? I've been in people's homes, man, and they had a chair stationary somewhere, and it said "do not sit." Like, what the hell you got it in here for then? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do not sit.
No, that's just for decoration. That's just for decoration.
But you know, this is where I capitalize on poor sales techniques because people don't listen. They're too busy talking more than listening. Right? And
Absolutely.
realistically, in a customer's home, they know more about that furniture in their home than your ass do.
Yep.
Right?
And that you ever will, for that matter.
Exactly. Just like you say, oh yeah, that's a 3-piece there. No, it's actually a 2-piece. Now, you could just have that customer just talking out their ass as well, but I'm just giving it as in the car business, right? When someone came in and purchased a car, they knew more about that car than my ass did. They did. Because guess what? I knew nothing about the car. Nothing.
Well, most
Especially,
people, when they walk into the car dealership, I mean, honestly, you could be the salesman, but most people, when they walk into a dealership to buy a car, they know what, especially today, they
of
know
course,
what they want.
of course.
Back in the day when there was no internet and there was none of that stuff, then yeah, you have to go and you have to look and you have to feel. When you walk into that dealership today, you know you went to Honda website 15 times, if not 50, to look at that one car that you think that you're going to get. Like, I already know I'm not going to buy a car for at least another year or two for myself, but I already have a good idea what I want, and I'm 2-3 years out from buying one.
Gotcha. So it's like, Phil, they come in, they're like, hey, you got that 350 turbo with the dual exhaust? And Phil, I don't know if you know well about cars, if you're like, oh,
It's like, I
yeah.
don't know, but I'll find out.
Right. Yeah, and that was it. You know, we would find out. You know, I would go right to the sticker, you know, when I was in the car business, but it was the same in the industry that I'm in now. You know, the moving industry, man. People know more about their front. They know how much they paid for it, right? You know, and we just have to listen sometimes. You know, we don't really listen. A lot of people don't listen to the customer. You know, and that's where the fail comes in at. You know, and you can charge that premium, right? Because a lot of people ask me, man, you know, you guys have only been in business 7 years. How are you charging as much as a 30-year-old company? Because we listen, right? We listen. You know, it's not all about volume, how many jobs you're doing or whatever this you're doing. It's about if you're making money on it. You know, are you making money on a job? You know,
I agree. These days, you don't have to look. Before, when you were doing that whole 3-year thing, when you were new to the industry, for moving industry specifically, right? You might start with $65 an hour, right? Because you were brand new. But reality today is you don't have to do that. If you're lower than, first of all, you got to shop what your competition in your area is doing. And second of all, don't compare what the company will quote you directly over the phone when you call them directly with what they're going to be charging from lead providers where they're competing with 3-4 other companies. You got to do both if you're going to shop, because otherwise you're not going to have the full picture. Because you call me directly, I'm going to charge you $200 an hour. You're coming from a lead provider internet lead, I'm going to charge you $10-15 less because I know there's 3-4 other companies that are charging that 200 or that whatever it is. You know, yep. So if I want the business, I have to go that route because now I'm spending money on that leads versus you calling me directly where I can charge you more. And the thing is that, look, a lot of people say this, oh, it's a repeat customer. I'll give them the same cost as last time. No. How long ago did they use you? A year ago, right. 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Start by charging them $20 more per hour and see what shakes. Yeah. If they like you and they like what you did for them last time, they'll say, okay, no problem. If they're like, oh, that's a little pricey, you can always drop it by 5, by 10 if you need to. But ultimately, you're going to get it. Even if they just moved a few 6 months ago, you can still get them for more money than you did originally. And that's not being whatever, inflation. The costs go up for things all the time. Back-end supplies, gas, the truck maintenance, everything. All those things increase all the time, year-round, every year. Every couple of months or so, the cost could increase. You got your alternator taken care of this month. Next thing, a different truck had that same issue. Suddenly, it's $200 more than you paid the month before.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
That happens all the time. You got to look at that stuff. But I think that if you're a new company, once you do that shop and you figure out what the price comparison is, right? Then I think if you're between $5 and let's say $15 an hour as a new company from those other companies you're competing with, that's enough for you to get business. You don't have to be $50 cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
10, 15 is enough to get you going. And then once you get enough reviews and enough things out there, then you might be able to charge a little closer to your competition.
Yeah.
But 10, 15, a good salesperson is going to be.
Well, you know what I hear from a lot of customers, and I'm the same way as a consumer, as someone that purchase services and purchase products. Peace of mind. A peace of mind. A peace of mind.
That's what you're selling. You're selling quality, you're selling peace of mind,
100%. Especially if you have just a perfect resume online. But that customer already know that, okay, the price that you gave them is probably about right. No one's left a review and say, yeah, they underquote to get their foot through the door, and then they charge you all this other little miscellaneous stuff through the day. Once it's there. So I always refer right back to the internet. Well, why are you getting your quotes out there? Make sure you check and see this quote that you're getting is not BS, just to get a foot through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we are at the top of the hour, guys, and this topic can go on forever. But what I do want to do before we wrap up today is, Yuriy, if you want to tell people a little bit about your company and what you can offer for moving owners.
Okay, so for those of you guys that don't know me, and I've been around a lot, especially over the last 5 years, especially since January with my podcast, obviously, you see the logo behind me. So we are a call center for moving companies. We're not a broker. We're 100% US based. We work with any CRM that you guys want to work with. So if it's Smart Moving, if it's Granada, if it's Moveboard, if it's Move It Pro, if it's Mover Base, if it's Move It Pro Pentacles, if it's whatever else that's out there, we will check it out. We will work with it. Now, of course, we'll make suggestions, but ultimately we'll use whatever you guys want to use. Any phone system. So we're good with all that. We're not done at the point of sale. So we're still answering questions on the day of the move. Our goal is to be super accurate. Realistically, I mean, you guys know that there's other call centers out there. There's no secret about that now. Realistically, of ones that are out there now, we've been around longer, first of all. We have a lot more experience. We're very picky about who we hire, and we're very picky about who we bring on as our clients. So we only bring on licensed movers. We only bring on movers that have, at minimum, a B rating with the Better Business Bureau. And honestly, if you have an F rating, unless there's a good reason for it that can be fixed, like you haven't had anybody on Better Business Bureau take off the bad comments or whatever, or like you did not respond to bad comments, please don't call me. Because then you're going to waste your time and mine. I'll be honest. We want to deal with companies that want this to be long-term, that care about their product, that care about quality, that care about their customers. Because realistically, if you don't care about your customers, if you're going to be screaming at them, I don't want to deal with that stuff either. We want to do a good job. We want to sell you. We want to sell you. We want to book jobs for you. If you're treating your people like crap, your customers are like crap, you have horrible reviews online, you're doing things wrong.
I agree.
We don't want to work with you if you're doing things wrong. We want to book jobs. We're in business too. We want you to, for that matter, we want you to get good leads. We want you to spend money on Google. We want you to spend money on advertising. We want you to be creative. We will advise you to be creative. And I'm the owner of the company. I'm always available. Dwight will vouch for that. I'm always available. I always respond, and I'm always able to help. If there's a tricky move, I'm pretty quick on my toes, and so are my people. So so that's what we do. The other thing too, if you're not sure or you're not ready to use us, for example, I also have a podcast. It's called Let's Talk Moving. You can check it out on YouTube. You can check it out on Spotify, iTunes. It's all over the place. Pandora. So you can check all of that stuff out. Please tune in. We are 28 episodes in and counting. So we have a lot of interesting people. If you're a business owner and you've been around for a long time and you feel like you want to give back to the industry, give back to the moving community, please get in touch. I'd love to get you on my show. We're trying to get things up and running. So we're doing sales, we're doing booking, we're doing inventory, local moves, long distance. We do all of that stuff. So we can quote whichever way you want to quote it. We go your pricing. Basically, yeah. So I mean, Dwight will put, I'm assuming, my Calendly link below this if anybody wants to schedule an appointment and talk to me about what you guys want to do, what we can do for you.
All right. So on that note, we're gonna end it there. And everybody, you're gonna enjoy the rest of your week. Reach out to Yuri for sure. If you got any questions where you want to reach out to Country Phil, definitely reach out to Phil. And hey, again, we went over moving sales training at the beginning of this show. So definitely, if you are looking for any more training, or hey, if you want to actually do it outsource, or have a company that feels like your company but not in your company, definitely reach out to moving sales professionals. But hey, the resources are there. It's just a matter of, are you going to go and conquer them? All right, everybody. So we'll see you next week. All right, talk to you soon.